Welcome to the podcast. If you'd like to listen to an ad-free version of this episode and all of our episodes, then search True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts and press subscribe. That's our premium channel where all of our ad-free and advanced episodes live, all in one place. True Crime Today Premium Plus. Search it on Apple Podcasts and press subscribe. Even try it for 3 days free.
Some secrets are kept in the basement, others in the morgue. Welcome to Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi, featuring defense attorney and host of the podcast, Defense Diaries, Bob Motta.
Well, it's not going to be a white Christmas or a happy Thanksgiving for the Menendez brothers this year. The judge saying, we're going to wait a little bit on this all the way out to January 30th and 31st. To determine what the next steps are going to be in this case. Originally set for December 11th. There's a new AG coming in. He wants to let them, take their chance to look at the case, decide if they want to continue to go forward. Will this eventually lead to the release of Lyle and Eric Menendez? That's the question. Bob Motta, defense attorney, host of the podcast Defense Diaries, joining us. Is this a bump in the road? Or is this more of this could go off a cliff pretty quick?
This thing could drive straight off a cliff.
Yeah.
So they've got a pending petition, they being the brothers, they've got a post-conviction petition out there pending, which contains newly discovered evidence, which are, the Menendez group members that came forward and said, yes, Jose was sexually assaulting us.
Yeah.
This is it lends credence to everything that they were saying. I mean, the interesting thing about this case is it's never going to change the fact that they killed their parents, right?
Sure.
I mean, that's always going to remain. The question becomes, is resentencing mandatory? So essentially, when you got, I think the guy's, who's the new guy? Hockman? I think his name is Hockman.
I think so.
Does that sound right?
I don't have it in front of me at the second.
Because he took over for Gascon. He won the election. So they got a new guy out there. He's, he's different party. He's a Republican. I think Gascon was a Democrat. And, for people that don't think that politics play a part in the criminal justice system, need to wake up, because it just does. Yeah. So he could be of a very different mindset. Mm-hmm. He could be of a very, very different mindset. He could be like, you know what? Why don't you just see how that petition of yours does? I'm not willing to step out there. You brutally murdered your parents. That's not and a lot of people had said that Gascon's move to get reelected was this whole Menendez brothers thing. Yeah. The timing was certainly specious. Yeah. It makes you think, all right, well, personally, I think that assuming that everything that they're saying is true, that these kids were horrifically abused by their father and their mother as well, either by her sitting idly by, having knowledge, or in some way facilitating it, I think they've done enough time on it.
Yeah.
I mean, I do, I think that they deserve to be out. They've done the better part of their lives in there. Mm-hmm. They're coming out, as ARP guys, they're getting their ARP benefits now,
Mm-hmm.
If they come out.
Truly.
So, right. They paid a heavy price for a very brutal act. We don't live in a society where, we can take the law into our own hands. It's that simple. We're just not that. It's not our law. It's not our laws. It's not our country. It's not how we do it. Everybody'd be doing it. Every person whose kid was ever, molested or sexually assaulted, every dad would be going out there Old West style, putting dudes down left and right. So we just can't go there.
Yeah.
You can't do it. So, it's going to be really interesting to see. So I know that the judge set hearing for the 30th and the 31st of January, right after the new year. And they're going to go in there and they're going to argue for the resentencing. The judge is going to hear it out. And we'll see. And, the difference in the two circumstances is either you're going to have Hockman saying, we're not on board with this, or we are. Because the way that it was set up with Gascon, he's coming in saying, we're in agreement. Mm-hmm. The state is in agreement. If you get the new guy coming in saying, nah, like we're not doing it. We're not on board. We oppose this. Then it's left to the judge to look at it. And then it becomes a much, much more difficult decision for a judge, because when you have the state essentially saying, hey, yeah, look, we've looked at all this. It's viable. It's real. We think that they've served enough time for it. We're all about resentencing. It becomes a much easier task for the judge as opposed to when you've got the state opposing it. So, we'll see how it plays out, man, but it's going to be interesting for sure.
Can the new AG completely derail this whole thing? Can they say, you know what, I know you got this from the previous one, but I don't agree with it, so we're not going to let you have this hearing with the judge? Or is it?
No, the hearing's happening.
It's happening.
But that's what I'm saying. The difference between Hochman and Gascon was Gascon would have gone in saying that we're on board with this.
Yeah.
Like we're coming in, we're not fighting it. Yeah. We agree that this should be the end result. We agree that the boys, now the men, have spent enough time. They've served enough time for the crimes. And so we're good with it. The judge still ultimately is the arbiter.
Okay.
The judge is the one who still finally makes the decision. But that's what I'm saying. If Hochman comes in and says, no, we're not in agreement with it.
Yeah.
And, then they have a full blown hearing where you've got the state in an antagonistic position as opposed to being a friendly.
Yeah.
You've got an opponent as opposed to a friendly on the other side of it. And it makes it a tougher decision for that judge, for sure.
Sure. Yeah. That ultimately it is the judge's decision, but it certainly would have a lot of weight if the new AG comes in and says, yeah, I don't agree with this. Have your hearing and all that. Do what you're going to do, Judge. But yeah.
There's a lot of weight to the fact that the families of both, Kitty and Jose are all about them getting out.
Yeah.
Like no one knew. This isn't the kind of shit that you're putting out to the world.
No.
You know what I mean? Like that is some, behind closed doors, like dark shit going on in that family where, you've got kids saying it. And and that letter's powerful. Like the letter that predated, him bringing it up at trial, that it existed in the world, where he goes into detail about what his father was doing to him. I think Lyle wrote it.
Yeah.
And, you've got powerful evidence of that it was certainly something that appeared to have been happening. Mm-hmm. And if that's the case, again, depends on the judge, man. You know what I mean? It's like that. There are no givens in the law.
Yeah.
There just aren't.
You got the judge, and then you got the parole board as well. That is going to ultimately make the end decision, correct?
Right.
Does the parole board typically go with what the judge is going to say in a case like this?
Yeah.
Okay.
If the judge comes down with we agree with the resentencing, then, ultimately the message is clear.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it can't be anything other than cut them loose. Mm-hmm. If the resentencing is granted, so it's like, ultimately at the end of the day, the judge's ruling is going to be the thing that really determines what's going to go on.
So if the judge says, no, we don't agree anymore, we're going to send you back, they need more new evidence to bring this back up? Or
no, because they're not in there really they're not in there on, like, they'll still have their post-conviction petition out there.
Okay.
Like they can still be litigated.
Okay.
It'll just add 10 years to the process.
Yeah. And eventually they'll be dead.
Or whatever, however long it's going to take.
Yeah.
And it's like the problem with these guys is that they've got kind of the head of steam right now. Mm-hmm. And, like true crime just churns on, man. Like there is no, like the criminal justice system, there's the next big story. There's the next big case. And once that thing loses steam, if it does, it becomes a much tougher battle. Yep. Like right now they got a lot of voices out there saying they should be released. If those people lose interest aside from like the core, mm-hmm. It becomes tougher, man. Yep. So yeah.
Yeah. Strike while the iron is hot. And
always
be interesting. Welcome to the podcast. If you'd like to listen to an ad-free version of this episode and all of our episodes, then search True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts and press subscribe. That's our premium channel where all of our ad-free and advanced episodes live, all in one place. True Crime Today Premium Plus. Search it on Apple Podcasts and press subscribe. Even try it for 3 days free.
You're neck deep in a dark, twisted tale, and just as the tension peaks, bam, a commercial about some miracle diet pill breaks the spell. It's like finding a fly in your soup after the first bite. But here's the fix. True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts. You get to enjoy your crime stories without the junk. Ad-free episodes, extended interviews that go beyond the surface, and early access to all the gruesome details. It's like swapping out a can of cheap beer for a glass of fine whiskey. So search for True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts. Subscribe and keep the darkness flowing uninterrupted.